Okay, so we are back and we have with us now Philip DeGroat, and he is running for school board. And again, this is just a little get to know you, short little 10-minute opportunity here just to kind of personally kind of figure out who you people are. So I'm gonna start off with a really easy question for you. And
Sure.
if you can just kind of give us a little background on where you were raised and how many siblings you have and where you are in the birth order.
Okay, no problem. Well, I've spent most of my life in Texas. I was actually born in Kansas City, Missouri. My family moved down here when I was 5 or 6. So I've spent the last 40 plus years, I hate saying that, um, here in Texas, and it's always been home to me. So I actually grew up in Cleburne, so just a little bit south of the Metroplex here. Went to school in Nacogdoches, Stephen F. Austin, graduated there. Came back to the Metroplex here, lived in Arlington, and I got a master's degree at UTA, and moved to Mansfield when we had children to be part of the school district. So I do have one sister. She's 6 years older than me. She lives back in Missouri still, and that's kind of it.
Okay. Um, did you have any kind of an idea of what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I did, and I think kind of like a lot of people, it didn't follow through. I wanted to be a pilot when I was young. I thought flying was the coolest thing. I had been on a number of trips. My grandparents actually lived in Houston, and so I would fly down there and spend summers with them. And so even from being very little, they put me on the plane by myself, and I'd go down and they'd pick me up in Houston. So I always loved that, and I actually had considered going to the Air Force Academy and went pretty much all the way through the process, even to getting close to getting the recommendation from the senator here in Texas. And at the last minute, decided that it was too far away, and I was gonna not be able to come home as much as I wanted, and for whatever, and girlfriend at that time didn't want me to go away. And so for all those reasons, I said, no, I think I'll just stick closer to home. And then I had to kind of just reinvent myself and decide, and ended up being business degree, undergraduate degrees in finance. So ended up going into the financial realm, and yeah, and that's how it happened.
So, and what is it that you do now?
So I actually spent the last 18 years working for Citigroup, one of the largest banks in the world, um, and actually moved more into a technology role than purely a financial role. I spent a lot of time in compliance, a lot of time in audit, all of it surrounding technology and IT systems. So I left the purely numbers game and sort of the CPA audit area behind, and moved into technology, and spent a number of years doing that.
Okay. Um, what would be the best career advice that you would give someone?
I think the best that I can be is to be open and listen. It's invaluable to gain information, even in areas that you don't necessarily operate or that are your expertise. I got a lot of knowledge from people that were in things like marketing, or sales, back into operations. A lot of areas that I didn't really know very well and that I didn't operate in, but the experiences they had were very valuable in teaching me lessons. So, I'd say, always keep your ears open, always be learning, and it will certainly help you navigate in what's a fairly difficult corporate world these days.
Uh, you say difficult these days. What do you mean by that?
Well, and I'll just, from my own personal
Uh-huh.
experience with very large companies, there's a huge amount of bureaucracy that goes on in large companies, and for good and bad reasons. There's certainly opportunities to move a lot, to learn a lot. When you talk about big corporations, there's always openings and things that you can do. But at the same time, it's easy for you to fall into I'm frustrated that I can't get things done, or that my ideas aren't making it, up the chain. And that's just purely the size and structure of corporations. And I think, one of the ways that some companies have been able to do better is to flatten out some of that hierarchy, and not make it so rigid. But it still is a challenge, certainly in the very large corporations. I would advise people to look for small to medium sized businesses, if they're going to be in a corporate environment, because I think it's easier to navigate.
So you've got a background in technology.
Mhm.
What's your perspective on the digital world these days?
Well, I think it's the pace of it has not slowed at all. It's something that you've got to stay on top of, almost every minute of every day, just to be able to keep up with the changes that are going on. And in particular, in my field, I dealt with a lot of the security and the compliance end. And we all hear, every day about breaches, about new bugs in software, and things like that. So that's one of the hottest areas, and one that you have to pay the most attention to, because whether it be a county government or a school district that gets one of these viruses that locks them out of their system, and ransomware, and then they end up having to pay millions of dollars to get their assets unlocked. That type of stuff is something you've really got to pay attention to. And I think the what's really relevant to us these days is the new ways of learning, things that we've all had to learn to do at home, and especially for our kids. I think we've done a pretty fantastic job, considering what was thrown at us, and some of the challenges we had, and being able to continue learning, and that's really through technology. Our kids would never be able to sit at home and actually get their education if we didn't have that technology, and rely on it.
That is very true. Do you have any kind of a bucket list or things that you want to do before your game is over?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I do. I think a few. I think most of them involve visiting places. That's kind of my thing with bucket list. There are places in the world that I really want to see, and most of them are really far away.
Like
So,
where?
New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
I would really love to spend a month or so just touring around the various climates, and they have a widely diverse ecosystem in New Zealand. So that fascinates me. I love Asia. I've spent some time in there. Japan, I've done some work. Spent some time in Singapore. So there's lots of parts of Asia that I would really like to see. Um, and a few others that are kind of out of the way that I may not make it to, just because of logistics or cost. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing on the bucket list.
Is travel one of your hobbies? Do you like to travel?
I do, and we try to plan stuff, that more recently it's been different.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, we take the RV, and do it that way. In fact, next week we'll be over in Lafayette, hopefully eating as much boudin and crawfish as we can,
Mhm.
and doing some fishing down in Vermilion Bay. So it's a chance to um, take a small vacation. It's the RV, and we're not going that far. But
Right.
certainly once we get back to being able to travel and visit some other areas, my kids are desperate to get to Japan. It's one of the things that's on their very, very young bucket list. So hopefully maybe next year we'll get to do that.
Okay, so my last question for you is, why are you running for school board?
Well, it's a good question. Last year I ran in the election that we had, which had been put off until November, and at that time I had made the decision between the two, city council and school board, to go the route of city council. Was in a very, very close race, less than 1%, and came up just a little bit short. But so this time around, I decided that school board would be the option that I would choose. And really both of them were for the same reason. And that's just to, be a more active part of the community, to offer up my skills, my knowledge, to help. And whether that be at the city council or the school board, I think I bring the same skill set to either one, albeit there's some differences in what you do. But I've been involved in MISDs for 15 years now. My son opened up a brand new elementary, Nancy Neal, when they first built it. He was the very first class to go there. I ran the Watchdogs program at the elementary. I was on the PTA board. I've been a substitute teacher in the district, so I've been inside the classrooms and been around the kids and the teachers. So it was kind of a natural fit, because I've spent a lot of time with the district, and I think I'll be able to to offer them some good knowledge and good skills.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate the time. And
Yes, thank you.
of course, we're going to do our candidate forums. Those will be coming up. And then we're also going to do a meet and greet. So we'll have plenty of opportunities for people to get to know you. But thank you so much for participating today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite, and can't wait to meet all the other people at the other forums.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Okay.
Thanks, Lori.
Bye.